everyone, this is Ilina and welcome to another LDRS Creative card video. In this video, we're going to make slimline card doing some ink blending and stenciling. We're using the pretty pattern slimline set of dies. We're going to use the largest layer and the square. We're going to use the largest layer to cut some cardstock. And we're going to cut the square using masking paper. So by magic of YouTube, I've already cut that layer. And then with this square, I'll cut 3 pieces of masking paper. So by magic of YouTube, right there, we're going to use the little frames to center those squares. We're going to use 3. And we're going to use actually the negatives of that masking paper. So we're going to ink blend squares instead of the outside. We're going to blend in the inside. So here I'm trying to find the center of my panel. I'm just counting the sections of those little arrow embellishments on the sides. So I found the center there. It had 11 sets of those, so I found like the number 6 is in the center. So I tried to position it, making sure that it's centered around that 6th section. Now I'm using Tangerine Dreams hybrid ink in an ink blending brush. You can use any blending tool of your choice. I had the ink blending brushes handy, so I'm using those. I'm adding more ink towards the bottom and spreading it towards the top. So we have darker area and the bottom lighter on the top. So I pull that masking paper away. And I'm repeating the same for the top and the bottom. I'm not throwing away the masking paper. We're going to use it in just a little bit to apply some glitter gel through stencil. So here I use also 2 ruler, if you notice, to make sure that that square is straight. So now I'm using Soft Kisses hybrid ink. This is pretty light ink, so I'm applying a little bit more. Again, I'm using ink blending brush, but you can use any blending tool of your choice. So I'm almost done with this one. I'll remove that masking paper and I'm putting it to the side. We're going to repeat the same thing for the bottom square. So I'm adding that frame. I remove the backing of the masking paper, making sure that that stays nice and secure there. And now I'm positioning the negative, removing that frame, and we're gonna ink blend using Prickly Pear Perfection ink. I'm a little bit off the camera here, but I'll just pull that panel up in just a second. So again, here we're applying more ink towards the bottom and less on the top. Now I'm going back to the mask. I'm starting from the top to the bottom. And we're going to apply some glitter gel. I'm masking off the rain. I'm using the Rain or Shine stencil. And a little spatula to apply that glitter paste or glitter gel. This just adds glitter texture and keeps the color from what's underneath, so it keeps the color of the ink. So you notice that I start from top going to the bottom, because if you start from the bottom, you will need to wait for one layer to dry, one section to dry before applying the next one, or you're gonna make a lot of mess. So apply the second one, and now we're going to the last one. I'm adding that masking paper and securing the stencil. And again, applying that glitter gel. So I'll remove the mask and the stencil. Now I put that aside to dry. While it's drying, I'll stamp the images I will use on the card onto LDRS Creative watercolor paper. This watercolor paper is amazing to work with Karin markers. They blend just amazing. It's when you apply also the marker directly to the paper and then blending it with brush, it doesn't show any lines, so it blends amazingly. So here first I was going to use a smaller piece of the watercolor paper, then I decided to use the full size and stamp those images twice, so I have some for later use. And I'm stamping with the LDRS Creative Hybrid Raven ink. And by magic of YouTube, I've already die cut those. Now we're going to move on to coloring. So I'll use two methods. First, for the owl, I'll just scribble the marker on the side of my mat. And I'm picking up with the brush and applying it to the paper. So this is the first method. If you want a lighter image or more softer look, this is the way to go. If you want more bright and saturated images, you can apply directly the marker onto the cardstock, onto the watercolor paper. And that's what I'll do for the rest of my coloring. I'll apply the color directly onto the paper and then use my watercolor brush to blend it in. I have a paper towel there to remove excess water from my watercolor brush as I'm coloring along. So we're almost done with the second image. I'm just adding some little details. And now we're going to the last image. Again, I'm applying directly the color to my image and blending it with the watercolor brush. So these images are so small and cute, and they're so easy to color. So we're almost done with this one. We'll just need to color the skateboard. I'm using gray and teal. Gray for the wheels and teal for the skateboard. And we are done. I just forgot to color the hula hoop there. I did it with pink. Next we'll stamp the sentiment onto black cardstock and emboss with white embossing powder. I'll be using the watermark LDRS Creative ink. I'm stamping a couple times onto the black cardstock that I've primed it with anti-static embossing powder to make sure no white speckles appear in any other places besides the sentiment onto my black cardstock. Next I just trimmed it to size, a little strip. And we're left with the last task, which is to assemble the card. I'm using foam adhesive, foam tape, to add all the little images and the sentiment to my slimline panel. I'll just pull this one up in a second. There we go, we're adding the last one, and now I'm adding that tape on the back of my sentiment. I'll use T-ruler to make sure my sentiment is adhered straight. I'll just trim off the excess, and now we can make our card base. I'm using 7 by 8.5 piece of white cardstock, and I'm scoring it at 3.5. So this way we have 3.5 by 8.5 slimline card. Next I'm using some fun foam to add dimension when I add that panel to my card base. I'm adding strong adhesive on the back to make sure that that stays nice and secure. And then I'll secure it to the card base using some liquid adhesive. And this finishes our card. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to the LDRS Creative YouTube channel. Also visit our blog for more ideas and inspiration. Thanks for watching. Bye!